the top rate, income tax rate, through the early 60s, through the Kennedy-Johnson tax cuts, and actually through the mid-50s or so, is I think 91% on incomes over 200,000. So that translates, that's roughly $2 million in today's terms. So what they're saying back then was, you can't make more than $2 million. Right? As a society, this country in the mid-50s said, you can't make, in today's dollars, you can't make more than $2 million. Right? And what happened as a result of that? Well, I mean, America went through, first of all, its greatest period of economic growth ever. It was the unquestioned leader in the United States. The social fabric of this country was, with respect to income inequality, fine, right? I mean, you can't point to something that was wrong with America in the 1950s because they said you can't make more than $2 million, right? Now, what's amazing about this is if you even bring this up now, people don't even believe you that that was in place 50 years ago. Adam Goppigan at The New Yorker did this sort of town hall thing in so disastrous. Adam and I, so every now and again we do these things where we did it at the 92nd Street Y, right? We get on stage and we yap about stuff. Now, we're used to the 92nd Street Y, which is, all of you know what that audience is, right? I'm sure it's a lot like the audience here. So at the 92nd Street Y, you can talk about how taxes in 1950 were 90%, and you can talk about whether that was, what that meant and blah, blah, blah. So we were invited to do a similar kind of thing in Naples, Florida. I did not know that Naples, Florida, I thought Naples, Florida was a kind of extension of the Upper East Side or the Upper West Side. How wrong I was. So here we are up on stage, me and Adam. We forget that, it's like, and we bring this up and people started hissing. I mean, we practically hurled their kind of dinner buns at us. I mean, it was like, and we was like, wait a minute, we didn't make this up. This happened. Here was a room full of kind of Republican retired millionaires, right?
Yeah.
Their parents paid that kind of tax rate. And maybe they were upset about it, but they didn't form a tea party and jump up and down about how they were being turned into socialists. They understood that their country had given them and had made an enormous contribution to them, had made it possible for them to succeed. They also understood that their country had incurred certain obligations that had to be paid for, and that as the wealthiest people in the country, they were the ones best positioned to help pay for that. And by the way, $2 million is a lot of money, right? You can actually live a nice life on $2 million, right? It's only today that we have completely abandoned all sense of proportion. And, people like, this is the most extraordinary quote. It was from Stephen Schwartzman, the private equity guy. Who remembers this? This is a guy who made about, $1 billion last year. And remember, and my accountant is here, he can correct me if I'm wrong. Don, correct me if I'm wrong. Stephen Schwartzman pays capital gains on his money because he says the money he takes out of his investment pool is capital gains and not income, so he pays 15% and not 40%, right? When there was some move in Congress to raise that, to make him pay normal taxes, right? Remember, he compared it either to Kristallnacht or the Nazi invasion of Poland, which is, by the way, the most obscene thing ever to come out of anyone on Wall Street's mouth in the last 10 years. And by the way, the bar is really high for most obscene thing, right? That is how, when people are saying that with a straight face, you realize that we're completely off the rails, right? I feel like I want to put him in a time machine, move him back to 1955, and sit down with him as he files his tax return. I think that would just be, I would pay $1 billion for that privilege.